Hey ladies, thanks for joining me today. If you're new to my channel, my name is Mitzi and I'm a paper girlie, and this month I'm starting the Girlfriend's Guide to Journaling. The purpose here is just to gather together a group of girlfriends, girlfriends of a certain age, and just go over some topics to just do some reflective journaling. Okay, so today's topic is shame. It's a big one. I get it, girls. It is another big topic, and gals, we're going to get through these. We're going to get through these and then we're going to move on to the present day. But unfortunately, in order to get to the present, we have to take some time to reflect on the past. So that's what we're doing here this week. And as you can tell, I am in a new outfit. Well, at least a new outfit for me. I'm wearing a new top. I'm going to always be in my overalls. I mean, we know that's kind of my gig. But I'm in a new top. I got fresh makeup on, and girls, the reason why I have fresh makeup on and a new top is because, today it's a big one. It's a big one for me. So I had to, to be quite honest with you, I had to prepare myself. I had to prepare myself because, today we're talking about shame, and I am getting deep down and personal. And if you saw is it the first one, the first video, the kind of introduction where I showed you what we were going to talk about? Well, then I told you that I was going to talk about this, and I told you a little bit. Well, I put it out there what we're going to be talking about today. And so let me just preface this all before I even get to the definition and the quote. And the prompt about shame is that we are talking about, and I'm just going to put it out as SA. And I think if you're not familiar with what that term, what SA stands for, then stop right now, go look it up, and then decide if you want to continue on here. Because this is, it is a very, very touchy subject. It's a touchy subject, and I'm coming on here going to talk about my own story, my own experience with it. And if you have experience with it, then you may not want to watch this. You may not want to watch this. You may want to just skip over to tomorrow, because tomorrow we're talking about resilience with a whole new story, and it's going to be inspiring tomorrow. So today I'm here for the ladies that either want to hear my story or need to just hear my story for whatever reason of their own. So, okay, enough said about that. Okay, so let's talk about shame. I'm going to get my notebook. Well, I have my notebook. And I'm going to read the definition. The definition of shame is a painful, self-conscious emotion stemming from a negative evaluation of oneself, believing I am flawed or I am unworthy of love and belonging. So that is the definition of it, and this is the prompt for today. So the prompt for today is oh goodness, I'm stumbling over my words. You can tell that I'm a little bit nervous about this today. The prompt is there something you have never written down, never said out loud, because putting it into words feels like it would make it more real? Write it now, because ladies, it cannot hurt you more than carrying it inside. So that is the definition. That is the prompt. And so if now is the time where you want to cut out, then I will see you tomorrow. Okay, ladies, so we all know that I could go on and on jibber-jabbering about shame, but guess what? I'm not going to. I'm not going to, because that would really defeat the purpose of what I really want to talk about, and that is about getting over the shame. Getting over the shame that we might have been carrying around in our lives. And have really been causing some havoc in our lives. So what I want to share here on shame today is something that I learned about it. As you know, I love the internet. I love the internet for information, and I have been using it for years for information. And I came across something, gosh, a few years ago that really got me to thinking about how I react, just react to that feeling of shame. And that's really what it is. It's a feeling that we get inside of our bodies that then we react to. And those reactions, that's where when all the nonsense comes into play. Because girls, over the years, that little, well, I was going to say a little bit of shame on, gosh, I've had a lot of feelings about shame over the years, because it is that feeling of shame that has made me react in such a negative way in my life over the years that, gosh, I just had to get a hold of myself. I had to get in touch with why I made the decisions that I made that stemmed from shame, and how that was just not working for me. It was not working in my life in order for me to live my life abundantly, my life in a positive way. So, this is what I discovered. This is what I discovered a few years ago that just, turned it all around for me. Okay, so shame versus guilt versus embarrassment. Those are three different things. And I was encompassing them all as one thing, all as shame. So, what are the differences? Well, guilt is the feeling you get. Oh gosh, I've got to bring it up because, menopause, my eyesight's going. Guilt is the feeling you get when you do something wrong or you perceive that you did something wrong. Guilt is feeling remorse or feeling responsibility for something that you might have done. Okay, so that's guilt. Embarrassment is a response to a social situation in which you feel exposed, self-conscious, or uncomfortable. That's tied less to your identity. That's just tied to how you feel in the moment. Okay, so that's embarrassment. But shame is the belief that you are inherently flawed, bad, inadequate, or worthy of contempt. So, three different things, three different definitions, but I was internalizing them as all the same thing. So once I was able to differentiate between those three feelings, those three words, and what they actually meant, that is when I really began to understand that my reaction, my physical reaction to what I thought was just shame was actually just embarrassment at the moment of something that, I was feeling. Once I was able to react differently to things that I felt guilty about, once I was able to just maybe take responsibility for my actions, for something that I did, I was able to just quickly then move on from that. And shame, oh my goodness. Yeah. Have I felt a lot of it over the years? I did. And did I react to those feelings in a very negative way? Yes, I did. But girls, this is, where the good part comes in. The good part comes in because it's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. It's not reality. In most cases, it is not reality. And that's what I want to talk about today, is getting over those feelings that aren't really the reality of what we're living in. That then once we can get past that, then we can get over the shame and then move forward to the joy. Okay, so story time. Okay, so if you have been here on this journey with me, the first, 3-4 days of this, then you know that this girl has had some things that I've dealt with over my life. And just like anything else, it builds and it builds and everything builds together into, what makes us up. So Anyway, I've always dealt with issues with connection. I have always dealt with figuring out my identity. And so this is one more thing that just kind of was created by the things that I've had to deal with in my life, that I dealt with in my life up until this moment of this situation, this occurrence. And once again, I can say this as just facts without a whole lot of emotion, because I have moved past it. I have moved past it. And so that's why I can just, again, come here just with the facts. So I was a lot like, goodness, I'm going to struggle through this. I am going to struggle through this. So please bear with me, girls. I know that you have a lot of empathy for me. So I'm just going to continue on here. I was 18 years old. I was 18 years old and still trying to figure out who I was, still trying to look for connection in my life. And if you are someone like me that has had to struggle through that, then sometimes you can find yourself in some really, is it precarious? Is that the word I'm looking for? Situations. So I was young. I was just starting to figure out who I was, or on that path of figuring out who I was. And, I grew up in a very conservative household. And thus, when I went away to college to try to, find myself, a part of finding myself was trying new things. And for me, it was going out and trying new things like the introduction to alcohol. And so I had not I'd really not ever had alcohol in my life. And so that in itself put me into situations that I probably should not have been in. And I'm not using that as an excuse. For what happened to me. I'm just saying that did play into the situation that I found myself in. Because my first quarter away at college, under the influence of alcohol, I found myself in a position where suddenly I was with a guy, and things were progressing, and then things went over the lines of the boundaries that I had set out for myself. And then I was in a situation where somebody took advantage of those boundaries. And gosh, I'm trying to say it without saying it, but I need to say it. I need to say it for you ladies that have been there, that have been in the situation. I found myself in a Me Too moment. I found myself in an SA moment. And the reason why I'm not using the actual words isn't because I feel shame over it. It's because, honestly, it's just because YouTube doesn't like you to use those words. But we all know what I'm saying. We all know what that means. And yeah, there I was in a situation where, gosh, I felt like I had no power over my own body. Somebody took that from me. And really, are the details important? No, they're not. If you've been through this, you have that story, and hopefully, those details just aren't really important here. What's important is how that played out over the years since. That feeling of shame. Over something that, we should not feel shame about, because that was something that we didn't have control over. So, Yeah, I think especially as women of a certain age, that I'm going to say we are here that are watching this, that are part of the community here on my channel. Goodness, like I said, I'm struggling through this. Is that for years and years and years, if you have had to deal with any type of shame, specifically dealing with shame over this particular type of situation, we were told in so many words or lack of words that this is something that we couldn't talk about. And I'm just here today to say, you know what? Whether it is with a girlfriend, whether it is with a therapist, whether it is with just yourself, we can talk about this. Because in order to get past this, to move on from this, you have to just take that power back, that power that was taken away from you. Because at the end of the day, besides just, anything physically that happened to you, it is the power that was taken away from you. That is what this is all about. That is what SA really is about. Because for most women, I'm going to say for most women, it is not the physical act that is horrifying. It is the lack of power that is horrifying. And that is what we go on to dealing with when it comes to shame over the years afterwards, is that lack of power, the shame of not feeling like we might have done what we needed to do to get ourselves out of that situation, that we might have not said the words that were needed to be said in that situation to keep us from having that lack of power for it to then progress on. That is where the shame comes in. At least it is, or it was for me. Now, ladies, if my story hit a little bit too close to home for you, let me be the first one to say I am so sorry that you went through that. You didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. And I hope that me coming on here and sharing a little bit of my story without shame might help encourage you to take back some of that power that shame has been holding over your head, if you haven't been able to yet. Because goodness, that one experience does not define us. It does not define me. It does not define you. And for the rest of you gals that might be thinking, well, Mitzi, I did not have to go through an experience of that. Thankfully, you didn't. But goodness, shame is a crazy little bastard. He will just creep in and crawl in wherever he can. And it does not take something that dramatic to bring shame into our lives. In fact, it takes very, very little, because unfortunately, shame plays with our emotions. It really just grabs a hold of any little insecurity that we might have. And ladies, where do we go when we feel insecure? Well, I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, we go into that deep dark hole called comparison, where suddenly we are just comparing ourselves against anyone and everyone that we think, might be better than us. It's just a spiral that is doing nobody any good. Because goodness, eventually you get to the point of where you're saying, well, goodness gracious, I'm just so flawed. Well, yeah, do we have flaws? Of course we do. We're humans. Everybody has flaws. But are we flawed? Are we, undeserving of love and belonging and acceptance and just being valued? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's where shame comes in. We just react and feel shame. So remember at the very beginning when I was talking about the difference between guilt and embarrassment and shame? Well, let's get back to that here. Let's get back to the idea that these are all feelings. There are feelings that we have that are bouncing around off of experiences that we're living. And so, that being said, why are we dealing with shame? Why are we dealing with shame when 9 times out of 10, the feeling of shame comes from something that we do not have power over? So if we go back to the prompt, yeah, it is a big one. It is a big one, but maybe you don't have something big to write down. And that's okay, because girls, whether it's big or whether it's little, the feeling that we feel is the same. So, what was the prompt? The prompt is there something you have never written down, never said aloud, because putting it in words feels like it would make it more real? That's what the prompt is. So whether it's big or whether it's small, if it's something that is holding you back by feeling shame, please write it down. Look at it with clear eyes, with a new perspective, if you got a new perspective here. And then let it go. Please, just let it go. Because shame really does not bring anything of value to your life. It is only holding you back from finding joy. And that is what I want for all of you here, is to find joy in your life. That joy that has been robbed by the shame. So gals, one last thing. There is a quote from a book that I'd like to share with you. And it is by a book by Brene Brown. And I'm going to put a link in the description for the book, because goodness, this Brene Brown, I think she is fabulous. I think she is fabulous, and she has helped me along my journey of self-discovery, of self-forgiveness, of just, learning to love and respect myself as a woman, as a human being in the last few years. So this is what she writes about shame, and it is powerful. I think it is really powerful. She says in the book, and it's called Daring Greatly, How the Courage to Be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead, by Brene Brown. If we can share our story with someone who responds with empathy and understanding, shame can't survive. And that's the point I'm trying to make here today, is that with whatever you went through, if you feel shame, share your story with someone. And that someone can just be your notebook. Write it down, share your story, have empathy for that story, and then move on. Okay, ladies, that's it for me today. I hope that if something here was of value to you, something that I talked about, then please like and subscribe so that you can come and join us again tomorrow. Okay, until next time, from one paper girl to another,